Do I think Zelensky should have just sat there when Trump kept bringing up how much we sent him and the amount simply wasn't true? How should have Zelensky acted? Look, I've been a supporter of defending Ukraine, right? So, I look at this objectively, but I did look at that meeting, and my honest opinion was Zelensky unnecessarily started litigating. He first started litigating against when J.D. Vance was answering a question about diplomacy. J.D. Vance was getting a question about not standing up to Putin or something, and he said, he was just saying, I think, something very normal, which was, look, we've been doing it one way for this amount of years, and I would argue that's what we had to do. But I also agree that the time is now to at least start talking, and that was all he was saying, right? He's like, now's the time to start talking. And for some reason, Zelensky, and this you have to understand that there's a cultural mismatch here. In Eastern Europeans, they don't think they're arguing with you when it feels to an American like they are. And I think that's what was going on there. And it wasn't the time for it. It wasn't the time for it at all. You're there to sign a good deal. It's a great deal. And I'll tell you why it's a great deal, because it's a natural security guarantee. If our countries are now aligned economically on mineral rights, which is hugely important for us, we love this, but they should love it too. And that's why they were going to sign it. But he started litigating this like the history of diplomacy with Putin, and it was just very unnecessary. And it's not how Trump likes to deal with people. It's just not. I wouldn't have liked it either. And look, even as a big supporter of our efforts there, I do agree that Zelensky should say thank you more. I remember him coming to speak to the Congress, and I was like, I don't need to be told why this is a good idea. I already know why it's in America's interest not to allow wars of conquest. Remember, this isn't really about Zelensky or Ukraine. This has always been about Russia and dictators that want to engage in wars of conquest. It's about deterring people like Xi Jinping who want to take over Taiwan and just totally screw American economy by taking over the semiconductor industry. That's what it's really about. It's about long-term deterrence. And that it was sad to see that meeting devolve the way it did. But I do think Zelensky should have just come in there, nodded, signed the papers, had lunch, and his country would be on a better track. Hopefully that happens on Tuesday. This is the last one because we're already past our time. This is like a service we have to pay for, so I think we get kicked off. My understanding of DEI, I don't like it. Diversity, equity, inclusion, right? On the surface, it seems like, well, it's just about equality and inclusiveness. What's wrong with that, right? But, well, the problem is in practice, it turns into things like privilege walks. I did a deep dive into the DOD's policies on DEI. This is dating back years. And look, I found that there was not really over the like top line policies, but certainly at the command level, we were seeing strange things like privilege walks, like everybody take a step forward because of some sort of perceived privilege that you have. Now, these privileges are, of course, not based on like innate characteristics, but instead, the color of your skin or your gender. And there's no way to create divisiveness quicker than to do that. And just to remind people of their differences, which is like the opposite of the military and how we operate in the military. You all wear the same uniform. You have the same flag facing the same direction, right? You get haircuts the same way. That's by its very nature the most inclusive unit you can create. And to try and create divisions within people has just not been helpful at all. And then of course there's DI and a whole number of institutions that we could talk about. I don't know what our timeline is. Last